All right, hey everybody. Welcome to the first edition of, it doesn't have a name yet, but this is Hot...
The show doesn't have a name?
No, not yet. It's Hot Joe and the Ranko Show, but this is the weekend edition. Ah. So the weekend edition is going to be a lot more fun.
I was looking for Hot Joe. I can see Ranko.
I sent
Hot Joe?
Hot Joe home. He was too hot, and it was lowering my rankings.
There we go.
So if you have an idea what you'd like it to be called, feel free to do that. Oh, Warren is arranging the bottles properly.
It's the Warren Scotch Arranging Show.
Yes, which is very nice and high tech. So welcome to the show, guys. This is my good buddy Warren. We've been friends for almost 20 years. No, it's over 20 years now.
That's true, yeah. We met in kindergarten.
Well, no, yeah,
we did.
Yeah, it was kindergarten when we got together.
Can I just pour one of these?
Absolutely. What do you want?
I'm not playing with them because I want to put them in order like soldiers. I actually want to drink.
Go for it.
Do the Jameson.
You going Jameson?
Yeah. You're going to do the Neil Peart tribute.
Yeah, I'll do the Macallan, which we've already we've talked about this. My boy,
your boy Neil.
He passed away.
Cheers to
Neil,
Peart, wherever you might be.
Here we go.
There we go. Cheers, mate. Absolutely.
Cheers, buddy.
Thanks for having me on. No one knows who I am. Like, this is the big guest, and it's your mate Warren.
Yeah, but let me tell you what. So, all kinds of stuff.
All kinds.
This dude had the third most popular podcast in the world.
The world. When Joe Rogan was still trying to figure out which side of the doobie to light.
You were doing it. You were already doing it.
The moves, yeah. Number 3 on iTunes, and could have been Amazon too, but I know it was iTunes for sure. In the entire planet.
That's stupid crazy.
I know.
That's
absolutely
insane. So how did that start?
That's a good question. Cheers.
Cheers.
We'll just do one more.
Well, you can drink just randomly. It doesn't matter.
Yeah. Ironically, I had a friend who's in Nashville actually, who was starting an internet radio station,
right?
And he wanted ideas for shows, and he approached me because he thinks I have good ideas. So,
which he does. We'll talk about that later, though. You always have good ideas.
Well, thank you. I came up with 3. One of them was a show called We Are the Mods,
right?
Which focused on 60s subculture, the mod movement. 60s soul music, scooters. If you've seen the movie Quadrophenia, the Who movie,
right?
That's about the mods. He couldn't find anybody to host it. I said I would for like 1 or 2. And it just morphed into this really large show on Thummin Radio, his radio station. So much so, and I won't say his name if he's out there, but it actually broke down the station. They couldn't take care of the streams and the downloads.
You killed their station.
Yeah, I killed the station.
Way to go.
I was marketing through Facebook and social media. It was getting masses of listenings in Europe. That's where we had the big base. And on the West Coast and the East Coast of the States. And, excuse me, he fired me. Thummin fired me. Thummin changed into a country music station. Obviously, I was not a country music DJ. We got into a little altercation. I came off them, went on to a UK station called... Oh, it's so embarrassing. I don't remember what it was called. Some UK radio station, then a Canadian one. Then I had a couple of co-hosts, and the show took off.
Gotcha.
Took off in a big way, and we started getting celebrity guests on, as you do.
Right. Hey, boom.
That's right. So, and the celebrities got bigger and bigger.
Right.
And they would all be in the 60 soul singers. Gino Washington.
Well, and I watched the one, drummer, or listened to the one that was...
Rick Butler, the Jams drummer, right? The Vapors, turning Japanese. They did a reunion tour. We had them on. In fact, Judy Street... I should tell you the story. I will later, because actually very interesting story. Some of the guests. 2 of them are actually Nashvillians.
Oh, no!
I was living in Dallas doing the show, and I was doing, but I had nothing like this, by the way.
No,
it's like fucking an alien spacecraft.
I know. I'm a nerd. I can't help it.
It's really well done.
Well, I'm an audio nerd, so I want it to sound right.
I had seen your show, and I told you this. I called my old co-host, and I said, you need to look at his setup. And we had the 3rd biggest podcast in the world, and look how much better it is than ours. I mean, I'm looking at, you can't see this, but what I'm looking at here is we're in a spaceship. It's very impressive.
There's a lot of It's all held together with duct tape, though, right?
Yeah. As all the good podcasts.
All my you can't see this. He's right, but if you could, there's a computer and some headphone amps and a mixers all sitting on the back of a golf cart.
on the back of a golf cart, literally next to two very expensive motorcycles, one of which is a Triumph, which I should be sitting on.
Well, I actually thought about it, and I didn't have time. What I was going to do is put the motorcycle right here and raise it up.
Look at that.
So it would have been because that
should be your guess.
Well,
Don't worry about me.
Well, the lift will go up, and it could have been right here, but the gasoline fumes may have killed us by the time we
there's that.
got done. But that's
don't
right.
get into that.
Not that these gasoline fuels, but
so we did the podcast. My friend Johnny came on as a co-host. He's an old friend of mine from the UK, and Johnny's an interesting character because he's an actor,
right?
And he's been doing sort of bit parts for ages, and he got an investor behind him and actually made a movie, got like £1 million. And in the movie, he had Martin Freeman, who was making The Hobbit at the time.
Oh, okay.
Who flew, this is how cool Martin Freeman is, flew from New Zealand to London, worked on scale, that's like, £10 an hour, whatever they pay, to do the movie, and flew back to New Zealand. That's how much, because they were friends. Johnny's co-star in the movie was an actress called Vicky McClure, who he later started dating and now engaged to her. And she's become one of the most popular actresses in England. So, as our show was going, he would have Vicky come on.
I think I heard that, like on one show.
And she's mega famous. So we'd have 96,000 downloads within an hour of the show going on.
Right, yeah.
Right, so it ended up, I think, we were doing 1 million streams and downloads a show. We would get the world map.
And what year was that?
We stopped doing it in 16. January 16 was the last show. I walked off the show. I ended the show.
That's crazy, though. Yeah. That it was that big, and that was.
It was a lot of. I mean, it was a. We had a massive Facebook following, huge social media pages. We were actually flown to England to do.
And you told me you had to get security.
Yeah, I was flown out to England to do.
Warren's a little bit controversial sometimes.
This is in my closet in Dallas. I'm doing the show, by the way. And I'm.
When did you come out of the closet?
I'm
sorry.
A lot of people are still waiting, big boy.
You tee it up.
I'm just looking for Hot Joe. That's what I said. Where is he? That's what I came here for.
He's
Not
in the
you.
corner watching.
The raincoat.
Exactly.
So doing the show in a closet, although it was on radio stations throughout the world and a big podcast, they flew me out to England, and I was so hated through the things I said, controversial. Possibly non-woke opinions. I don't know.
Right? Yeah.
At the time, that word didn't even exist. But I actually had security when I did the show, the personal appearance in Reading. I did one in Montreal that didn't require security because they're very polite Canadians.
Right. What's that all about? Sorry, I had to do it.
I'm saying sorry to my girlfriend who's Canadian.
She'll be fine. It's cool.
So
I'm good friends with Bob and Doug McKenzie. It's fine.
That's true.
Don't worry about it.
So. And it is a Neil Peart special. Cheers.
That's right.
So we should
Neil, man. So I love Canada. Don't get me wrong.
Absolutely.
Now, so this is something I'm going to bring up before I forget it.
Bring it up.
So Warren did this thing, and I didn't even realize it was him. I was checking out my Facebook page, and this is right after Neil passed away, and I see the Canadian maple leaf with a third cut off of it, and I almost started crying. Like I totally got the meaning, and then I'm talking to him, and he goes, yeah, hardly anybody knew what that meant.
No one knew what it meant.
And I'm like, it's a 3-man band. I mean, the biggest band in Canada.
The fact it moved you was great because I was actually drunk when I did it. So the fact that I got on Photoshop and did it and someone actually got moved by it is really great. But
and I didn't even notice it was you. Like I literally was just I saw the
story
image.
of my life.
Well, no, the image is what got me.
Yeah.
Right. And I'm like,
well, there were 3 members of Rush, 3 leaves of the Canadian,
and they're totally Canadian. You don't get more Canadian.
Brilliant band. We had lunch before this. We were talking about bands, and obviously you as a drummer. Oh. It's a musician's band.
Yeah, absolutely, man. It's one of those that changes your life because when you're young and you hear them, you're like, well, I can never do that. No. And then you just, and plus I'm an adventure motorcycle rider. So that's the other Neil. Side of Neil was this, if you haven't read any of his books, they're all phenomenal. So definitely do that. But he was way more than a drummer.
Sure. He was.
Right? I mean, it's...
poet, lyricist, some of the most amazing lyrics ever written. Thing about Rush is they were never like, Van Halen big, right?
No, they're
not perceived being that way. Actually, their record sales are actually in excess of Van Halen's, but they were always considered kind of the geek and the nerds band, right? If you were a computer kid at school, you're a Rush fan. Right?
You don't go to Rush concerts to pick up chicks.
You don't do that.
You do not go to a Rush concert to go like hot
Never.
babes. Right.
I did notice, though, I saw them about 5 years ago in Dallas, and there actually were a lot of women in the audience.
It picked up.
Yes.
Right,
I mean, because
time.
one has a girlfriend and you bring your girlfriend.
Exactly. But like Closer to the Heart's their biggest charting song that ever happened.
The thing that struck me about the Rush concert were everybody knew every word to every song without exception. Which was, we just looked at the sea of people singing back to Geddy.
And people who are not drummers going...
everybody.
Like everybody.
Including me.
Right, and knowing where they should be. Exactly.
That's right.
Exactly.
But you know every fill because you know...
Absolutely.
It's ingrained. And especially
he's such a technician.
If you go up to Canada, I mean, it's all you ever hear on the radio. I mean, I'm not exaggerating. I mean, my girlfriend and I, when we go on journeys, we count how many times we hear a Rush song. Typically Tom Sawyer, actually.
Yeah.
And we're in the car like at least 3 times on a long journey. I'm going da 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 da. That's the part of the Canadian experience.
Exactly. Because it was so sad to I think the thing that killed me about it was he died of brain cancer, and you just think, man, somebody who actually used their brain.
Yeah.
Right. Like
Absolutely.
that's. I mean, how tragic is that? It's like that was his thing. Was his brain was. That was who he was as a writer, a lyricist.
Brilliant guy.
And the crazy part is if you watch a lot of those documentaries and you read a lot of his books, he's so cerebral.
Yeah.
And he wasn't I don't believe he was the asshole that people made him out to be.
No.
Like, people thought...
he didn't do the meet and greets with the fans.
Yeah, but the lyric, I can't pretend a stranger is a long-awaited friend.
That's what I'm saying.
Right? Like he can't... Yeah. He said basically he thought it was wonderful that people... loved his drumming, but anything above that was embarrassing to him.
Yeah.
And so, I mean,
very humble guy.
I can get that. Like, I understand.
On YouTube, there's a video of the 3 members of Rush having dinner together over 4 hours. Have you seen it?
It's amazing.
3 fat Canadians.
It's
3 multi-millionaire fat Canadians having dinner, and it's so much, they love each other, obviously.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that comes across.
Yeah.
But they just seem such wonderful people. They're not acting as we're not now. They're just the
when,
cameras. Just
well, and when Neil went through, his daughter dying in a car wreck and his wife passing away from cancer.
A lot of tragedy.
He took off on his motorcycle and rode, it's like 55,000 miles. And he basically would mail the guys a postcard every once in a while to let them know, I'm still alive. I'm still here or whatever. But, Geddy and Alex both have said, if you don't come back, it's okay. Mm-hmm. Like, we're not going to get another drummer.
Yeah.
We'll just be done. It's fine.
I mean, how could they really? I mean, who could honestly step into those shoes?
Right.
But we said that. I mean, you say that.
You think
about
people
Queen.
got upset about Sammy Hagar?
Well, that's true. And I mean, you say that about Freddie Mercury, the greatest frontman of all time, and they got Adam Lambert, who has a great voice, but he's not Freddie Mercury.
Well, no, you don't you can't replace that.
Just taking a paycheck, though, aren't you? At that point.
So. Anyway, that was a tangent, and and that's probably going to happen. But anyway, so you had this great podcast,
and Vicky would come on, so the ratings grew, and that was that.
And then you kind of had to walk away from that.
I did.
And then what'd you do after that? What was your because this is all after, and we'll go back to Tabasco Cat, our rockabilly group.
Sure.
So you and I weren't. I mean, you were moved away, and we were.
Yeah, I was in Dallas at the time. I came back to Nashville a couple of years ago. I mean, obviously I have my business interests and I'm self-employed like you are. But it started off as a hobby as this has. And you don't really realize, remember when we were doing it, there was no Joe Rogan podcast. Like people weren't going into YouTube and watching podcasts, and that just didn't happen. We'd actually discussed doing a Facebook Live. Mm-hmm. That was kind of just coming in. And then of course now there's this phenomenon with Joe Rogan podcast, which is great. It's great that you've got this set up and you can do stuff like that. I don't miss it.
Right.
What I do miss is, and I was saying some of the interviews we did. I'll give you an example of this one. You'll appreciate this.
Scoot this way a little bit. I want everybody to see your face, man. Sure. Sorry, I don't want you to be blocking the whole time. It's good. We got another camera over here, but I probably want to use that one more.
Want to see
every once in a while, look at that camera and then see if you can see your beautiful face.
I can, actually. Yeah, I haven't got my glasses on, so
I know. Me too. I'm blind without them.
One of the guests we had in particular, I think you would appreciate. Is a guy called Barry Tashin. He lives in town here in Nashville. Mm-hmm. Barry's story is this. So Barry graduated from BSU in 65, 66. And he had a band in BSU. They used to play bars. And they all relocated to New York. They literally graduated, packed their stuff, got in their VW van, drove to New York, and they had a manager in New York, right?
Right.
And it's an absolutely true story. And I had Barry on the show telling the story. They walk into the manager's office. It's 66, and the manager, they're all sitting down, as you can imagine, sort of, almost like a la that thing you do.
Right,
with,
yeah.
Those guys. They're sitting in front of the manager, and the phone rings. Picks up the phone. He's like, hold on, guys. He said, yep, of course, yep, great. Guys, how would you like to open up for the Beatles?
Wow.
True story. The Remains went on the last Beatles tour as the opening band. Right. And then what they did back in those days was the Remains would do their set. Then other artists like Bobby Hebb, who had a hit Sunny at the time, and I think maybe the Shirelles or whomever was on the tour, they do the backup for them as well. Right. Then the Beatles would come. Right, yeah. So they traveled around the country on that final 66 tour with the Beatles. They were on private planes with the Beatles. They talked to the Beatles. They got a very unique insight, especially Barry, he's the leader of the band.
Right.
What's interesting about Barry was when they came off of that tour, during the tour, they were on the Ed Sullivan Show, I believe, Hullabaloo. Their album came out. So they were going to be like, they were the next big thing.
Huge.
What they found was when they got off the tour, they were back to playing small clubs. And they broke up.
Yeah.
Because when you've been playing at Candlestick Park in front of that many people and Shea Stadium, wherever they played on the last tour, to go from that to this, they just couldn't handle it as a band. Right. And that's a true musician story. And those were the kind of guests that I wanted on the podcast. Barry, they did have one classic album, The Remains is the name of the band. If you can get hold of it on YouTube, it's all over YouTube. But get hold of the album. It's one of the best albums ever recorded in the 60s if you're into garage rock. Barry was on. Another quick story I'll tell you. Don't want to take up too much time on this stuff, but as it's another Nashvilleian, and we're in Nashville.
Yeah.
In the 60s, there was a girl called Judy Street, and she used to sing in Hello Judy, if you're out there. She'd definitely be watching this if she knows I'm on. So she's singing in an airport lounge. Mm-hmm. She gets seen by a gentleman who says, I'm going to make you the next big thing. She goes into a recording studio in Hollywood. She records 2 tracks. She thinks with a cutting crew. She can't quite remember if it was them because it was session musicians, same studios. Yeah. The tracks come out, nothing happens. She goes on playing the Holiday Inn, plays Disneyland, grows up, gets married, retires, has kids. In England, in the north of England, in Manchester, Wigan, there is a whole scene developing in the late 60s, early 70s called the Northern Soul scene, right? Which some of your listeners will have heard of. And it was basically it was a lot of DJs getting hold of American music, and what they do was they would flip over to the B-side and they started discovering these songs. Judy Street and her song What became a phenomenon. Meanwhile, she lives in the US completely oblivious to this. A teacher in a high school in Antioch, one of the biggest stars of the 60s in England. This could be a movie. Literally, it's really happened.
That's crazy.
I knew Judy Street growing up in England.
Right.
Like a megastar.
Right. Yeah.
Whatever happened to Judy Street?
Yeah.
I don't know. Just she recorded this one great single, right?
Yeah.
It's called What?
Right.
You can YouTube it.
Right.
So one day she randomly gets a call. Imagine this happened to you or you. And they say, hey, we want you to come over and do an appearance in the UK. We want you. And it's in front of thousands of people. By the way, you're massive. By the way, this single that you have a box in the garage full of is trading for like £5,000 a single. It's the rarest single you can get in Northern Soul.
That's insane.
She was massive in England, didn't even know it, teaching in a high school in Antioch. I'm good friends with her now, actually. We hit it off. When I had her on the show, the ratings went mental in England.
That is crazy.
It's insane. I told her, I said, for fuck's sake, write a script. Because that's a movie, right? Even if it's a Hallmark movie... It's a movie.
Well, but isn't it so weird how globally you can be nobody?
Nobody.
And somewhere else you can be absolutely gigantic.
I guarantee you, I know we will talk about Tabasco Cat in a minute. I guarantee you somewhere someone in this world listens to Old Dodge Dart. And it's the best thing they've ever heard.
I've had people email me or text me and they're like, are you the drummer for Tabasco Cat?
And it's not like you look like the drummer from Tabasco.
Oh, no. Like, Actually, I need to get a copy of it. So, I mean, we look totally different.
We look like two halves of ZZ Top.
Exactly. We look like two dudes that just wandered out of the woods, you know. But
ZZ Tap. That's what we are.
But yeah, I mean, it's weird how. Well, it's even like Setzer. He can go over to Japan.
Right, Setzer, yeah.
And like, it's insane.
Humongous.
Like, what was the statistic? Was like. The Stray Cats live in Japan outsold Terminator 1 and 2 combined.
Mental.
You're like, what?
That's why it's almost like Judy's story is very much to me like Harry Potter. Like the kid, he didn't know he was a wizard. He was just a loser in a family that hated him. And he was actually this super gifted wizard until he got to Hogwarts. She literally had that experience. They flew her to England, and she was at Blackpool singing in front of thousands of people.
Now, could she still sing at this point?
Yeah,
like, was she still
very well?
Oh, okay.
Fortunately,
right. Okay.
I sung a duet with her on my show.
Oh, okay.
I got her to sing what, and I sang with her. She's a great sport.
Okay, awesome.
Great sport. She lives in Nashville, still in Antioch right now.
That's awesome.
So these human stories, I think, were really integral to building the show. And I think it wasn't really, we didn't have the biggest celebrities in the world, but we had some fucking interesting ones with interesting stories. And that was good. That, when you say, what did you do afterwards? Were you sad to walk away? I wasn't sad to walk away, although I love my co-host dearly. But I was sad to miss out on all those stories. We got some really good ones.
Right.
There is a classic one as well. I'll just say one more thing. Gino Washington, who's a 60s soul singer, massive in England, American, but massive. He was so high when I interviewed him.
Right.
Off his tits. But I wasn't, but of course I was indulging.
Yeah.
The interview itself is just he and I literally, it's uncontrollable laughter from both. I can't interview him and he can't answer. And again, that went live, and of course he has such a massive following worldwide. I mean, we were getting like, I think that's when Japan got in touch with me and they said, we want to have you come to Tokyo, do mods because of that interview.
That's crazy. Yeah,
and it's crazy. The things that happen, you never know what's going to happen, Rankin.
Well,
there's someone out there watching you right now.
You know, we're just gonna keep it rolling.
Keep rolling.
I mean, my whole theory is shotgun method. At least eventually you'll hit something, right? You know, But I just wanted to have Warren on because he's just a great friend of mine, and we have shared a lifetime of adventures together. Mm-hmm. I mean, so just anybody that doesn't know who Tabasco Cat was. Warren, so originally it was who? You and
the day I got off the plane in California from London.
Right.
I moved to Nashville in 95.
Right.
And the day I moved to Nashville, I put an ad in the Nashville scene. It came in the week, because a week.
Right.
Ronnie Crutcher, who was our bass player, answered that week, and we started, and it must have been 97.
Okay.
Something like that. 6.
Somewhere around in there.
Somewhere, yeah.
All right.
Because you were in about 98?
Yeah, because we started recording in, was it 2000?
No, that's when I did my other band's album in 2000. So it would have been 1998?
Yeah, because, New Year's Day
is
when we started recording that record.
At the Castle.
At the Castle Studio.
Al Capone's.
Yeah, one of Al Capone. But the crazy part was, so I think I saw one of your ads on a...
how did we find you?
I think it was on a pole, like drummer needed, like
from Poland.
No, like actually on a telephone pole. I think you had put a thing up that said drummer needed or drummer wanted.
Back in the days when you could
do that, and so I pulled the little tab off.
Yeah,
you know how you do that, right?
Yes, I do.
And so I called, and he's like, "Yeah, great." So we ended up. You said, "Come see us at Gibson's."
Henry's Coffee House,
which was owned by
Henry of Gibson.
You're right. And so I went down and saw him, which obviously I'm a huge rockabilly fan. I grew up in the town of Carl Perkins. We used to trick or treat at his house, and my dad used to play golf with him.
Tennessee.
In Jackson, Tennessee. And Carl used to mow his own yard. You'd see him every day. You just drive by, there's Carl with a hat on mowing his yard.
Was he wearing blue suede shoes?
He was not. No. And he wasn't wearing his hairpiece either.
Blue suede Crocs?
But no.
Okay. He wore a wig. I didn't know.
Yeah.
Oh,
it wasn't a wig. It was an Apollo hair system.
Yes,
right.
Of course.
So, but anyway, but love Carl, and Carl's the reason people like George Harrison started playing guitar. So,
that's right.
So I loved rockabilly and had played in some bands in college that were very Chris Isaac, rockabilly based kind of stuff, and love upright bass and love big hollow body guitars. And the Stray Cats was the first CD I ever bought. And so I answered that ad. I went, saw him at Henry's Coffee House, and I loved it because it wasn't.
And that's when we sucked.
Because but I love the idea.
Yeah,
right. It was
the concept was
3-part vocal harmonies.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't just the bash away kind of rockabilly. It was rockabilly notes with a much more honed idea.
The concept was always with Tabasco Cat, and it's interesting you said about Carl Perkins and George Harrison, because the Beatles obviously recorded a couple of Carl Perkins songs.
Sure.
Everybody Wants to Be My Baby, and
Matchbox,
because Harrison was such a huge fan. And the concept with Tabasco Cat was always, if the Beatles were really a rockabilly band, what would they sound like? And that's why we had the multi-harmonies. It was a little bit different to regular rockabilly bands.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. So I saw them. I introduced myself. I remember that part, and just basically y'all were like, all right, we'll come to our rehearsal space, which was in a rental space.
Yeah, like a storage locker.
Yeah, like where you put all your crap that you don't need. I just put it in my house. But anyway, and so I went, I get my drum kit set up. We get halfway through the first song. Ronnie's phone rings. His wife is going into labor.
He's a bass player.
And he's an upright bass player. His wife goes into labor, and he's like, I got to go. And so I'm like, I remember this, y'all huddled together.
Yeah.
And they're like, he leaves, and it's like, you're the guy, you're in. And I was like, oh, okay, cool. So we played a half a song together, and then I got in the band. And then I think we jammed a little more that night or whatever after Ronnie left. But
they were great days. That was I will say this. I hope this isn't boring for the people that listen to you, but if you're in Nashville, Tennessee, and you ever come to Nashville, or if you live here, if you go down Lower Broad, which is where all the clubs and the honky tonks and the bars are, it's a tourist haven now. I mean,
it's Disney World now.
It's Disney World. Right? Back in the day, it wasn't. I mean, you could park on the street, bar hop, see bands. But we were the first band, and if you even know this, you might know this. We were the first band to be able to because you play for tips on Broadway. We were able to guarantee money. Mm-hmm. No band had done that before Tabasco Cat.
No, and people kept hiring us away.
They did. So a bar across the street would hire us, and then this bar would poach us, and this bar would poach us, and we just kept getting more and more money until this one bar opened up. Do you remember the Havana Lounge?
Yeah.
Because it was the days when swing and rockabilly, but certainly swing music was having like a second renaissance, right? And a martini bar opened up in Nashville. It was the biggest thing. It was a very expensive bar.
Oh, it was great, man.
We were a house band, and we got a big amount of money.
And it was a pool hall. Down below, and then a martini bar with a cigar humidors. Yeah. But you're forgetting too, we went to the Speakeasy.
Jack Legg's Speakeasy.
Jack Legg's even was more money.
Even more money
and a provided PA. Drinks were covered.
We were one of the few bands. I'm sorry if this is boring. I don't care. But we were one of the few bands.
By the way, this format is just...
By the way, the name of the show, Two Old Farts Reminiscing. Right?
Between two farts,
and then between two farts. Between two farts,
we're between
and
two
you can
farts.
play the Bruce Springsteen song "Glory Days" as behind us, right?
Exactly.
I can't remember what I was going to say now. So we played because swing was so big. We could play college nights on Monday nights. Mm-hmm. So we never had to leave town to make a living.
No. We went to Murfreesboro
to make a living.
Yeah. No.
We paid mortgages on houses with what we made in Nashville.
Exactly.
Unreal for a musician.
Yeah. And because we were playing, we basically played when we were doing Legends Corner, which was our first. That was our anchor gig basically. Yeah. And we played Legends Corner Thursday through Sunday, 10 p.m. to 2 a.m.
Yes, we did. By the way, non-Nashvilleians, Legends Corner had just opened up. It's now like the biggest.
Yeah, it's huge now.
It's a legend actually in Nashville.
But it was
we were their very first house band.
Yeah, but it was. They used to let me store my drums in a closet because we played there so much.
We had shots named after us.
Yeah, well, yeah, that's true. And this was also before there were drum kits down there.
That's true.
You had to bring your own drum kit. Could you imagine if you had to do that today?
They don't know what we're talking about.
It would be impossible.
They don't know what we're talking about.
They do.
Okay. Well, if you know,
actually, a lot of my people will.
So we had a wonderful time, and our bass player Ronnie ended up playing bass for Brian Setzer
because of me,
because of Rankin.
We should tell that.
Ronnie.
We should tell
because of Rankin.
No, we should tell that story though. How we met Setzer.
Tell that story.
Right? You remember?
Yeah,
so we went to the CMA or CMT.
It's a bit of a blur those days.
Right. Well, so CMT was doing this thing where they would put a country artist with a rock artist, or they'd put a country artist with a whatever. Yeah. So the Ryman we went to see Setzer with George Jones.
Okay.
Do you remember that?
You got to think bigger. Let's assume there's people out there in Kuala Lumpur. The Ryman is...
Oh, the Ryman is the mother church of the Grand Ole Opry.
Which is...
It's on Fifth Avenue.
Yes, it's a musical venue.
Yeah.
And CMT is...
A country music television.
Television station.
Which now plays no country music. But it's great.
Sorry, carry on.
If you want to see the Dukes of Hazzard, CMT.
That's right.
No. But yeah, so the Ryman, we went to the Ryman for this taping. Well, we're all in our rockabilly garb and pompadours and leather pants, and we're all dressed up, right? So out comes a lady with a headphone and a clipboard, and she's like, you people, come with me.
And could you just edit out leather pants?
No.
Because I don't wear leather pants.
No.
I've never worn leather pants. Actually, I did.
He did. You gave me your pair,
I
actually.
did.
Because he's like,
we were that close. We shared leather pants.
He's like, they're too hot. I can't do it.
That's very
And so, she said, come with us. Mm-hmm. So we went, and they set us on the front row.
That's right.
And so this is on video. Like, you can probably find it somewhere if you watch the... And so it's funny because Setzer's playing, and every once in a while you see him look at us. Like... Because everybody else looks like normal people except for these people down here. And he keeps kind of playing to our side of the stage because he's like, hey, these people get it, right? So after the show, he literally just, we all kind of hang around and gurm around because we have like copies of our stuff.
Let's get an order. Let's give him a CD.
Yeah, and we're trying to get, as you do when you're...
Sure.
So he just literally walks off the front of the stage, like, because people are piling out of the place. And he walks down and he's like, hey, what are you guys doing? And we tell him who we are, and he's like, hey, where's a good place to go listen to some music tonight? And I was like, oh, well, let me think.
Now keep in mind, this is our idol. This is Brian Setzer of the Stray Cats, someone we've just fantasized about.
And he's talking to us, and
he's
like,
talking
hey,
to us.
Where can we go? And so I'm trying to think in my brain quickly, like, all right, where do we go? Well, we're not playing that night because we're at the show. Mm-hmm. And so we're like, dang, this sucks. So the Billy Goats, who was another band in town, were playing at 12th and Porter.
Sorry.
Yeah, it's okay. That's why the sneeze guard's there. Yeah. But anyway, so the Billy Goats are playing. And so I said, well, they're playing over at 12th and Porter. And he said, well, I got to go back to the hotel, but I'll meet you there. I'll take a taxi. So we're like, great. So in our brain, we're like, well, we're never going to see Brian Setzer again, but that was kind of cool, right? And so...
Had 5 minutes with him? We're good.
Yeah, so we're all sitting at the table and just hanging out at 12th and Porter constantly, looking towards the front door. Well, I'll be damned if all of a sudden this little guy pops out of a cab and comes right through the door. And so I raise my hand like we're old friends.
Hey, Reckon, how you doing?
Exactly.
It's Brian.
Like, hey,
this is where it's all happening, and I cool.
So I raise my hand. Over comes Brian Setzer. He's like, pops down, sits right next to us, and I'm like, this is a little surreal. But he goes, hey, can we get some Jack? And I'm like, yes, sir, we can. So I know, of course, the bartenders because we play there and stuff, and they bring us over some Jack Daniels. So we're listening to the music, and Brian goes, hey, you think I could get up there and play something? I was like, yeah, I think that could be had.
Possibly.
So I go up to one of the guys, and the Billy Goats. I'm like, hey,
sorry.
You all right? It's allergic to
it's
the...
just allergies.
Okay. Yeah. And so he says, yeah, sure. So Brian gets up, and they kind of plunk through a little bit of a song, and it
was bad.
Yeah, it wasn't great. And
so we kicked them off stage.
So Brian looks at me and he goes, come here. And I'm like, what? He goes, hey, does Tabasco Cat know any of my songs? And I was like, would you like to hit the entire catalog or just the high points? Do you want to like do a chronological order, or how you want to do that? And so he laughed and he's like, oh, well, yeah, come on. So we kind of steal the stage, and reluctantly the Billy Goats surrendered their instruments and let us play. So Setzer comes up. We did Rock This Town, Rumble in Brighton, and then Jason Ringenberg was in the crowd. Jason Ringenberg is in the crowd from Jason and the Scorchers. And he says, can I get up too? And we're like, why not? We own 12th and Porter right now, and nobody's going to make us leave the stage.
Definitely not the Billy Goats.
And so...
Whose show it was, by the way.
So he gets on, and we do the races on, Setzer on guitar. I mean, it's stupidly good. So we finish up the night. And at the time, I was building humidors. I was working in the cabinet shop, and I was building these cigar humidors because that was the rage with swing dancing and cigars and all that stuff. So I said, Brian, you like cigars, right? And he's like, yeah. And I was like, why don't I make you a humidor? And so he's like, yeah, man. So he gives me his address and his phone number and all this stuff. And so me and my wife at the time, we drive him back to his hotel room. So I think, well, yes, this was a fun night, and, we'll never forget that. And then so it's a few weeks later, I see in the Nashville scene that Setzer's going to be playing down at Riverfront.
In Nashville.
Nashville.
And Riverfront is a big show. It happened.
It's huge.
Like they would have a barge on the river, which was a stage. It was like a big deal that he was playing. I think you called him to ask if we could open, didn't you?
I did, because I saw who the opening band was, and I was like,
Rankin, you call him.
I was like, well, I said, it doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
Like, this opening band is not, I don't even remember who it was at the time. And so I called him, as you do, when you have Brian Setzer's phone number. You're just like, yo, what's up? And he's like, hey, man, what's going on? He actually remembered who I was. And I said, hey, I saw that you were playing at Riverfront. And I said, I see who's opening for you. I was like, who picked that? And he goes, oh, I think just the promoter did. And I said, well, can you call the promoter and just say you want Tabasco Cat to open for you instead? And he goes, yeah, sure. Hold on. Let me call you back.
That's right. See, kiddies, when you're motivated.
Yeah, well, I figured, what's it going to hurt?
That's right.
Right? He could say, no, sorry.
Yeah, that's right.
And so I remember I pick up the phone. I called you. I called Ryan. I'm like, dude, I think I'm going to get us on this show. I'm not kidding.
That's right.
And so we're all like, all right, call me back.
Yeah.
And so sure enough, I get a phone call a little bit later. And he's like, yeah, you're on the bill. You just need to call so-and-so and let them know, what all you need and whatever. And I call the guys, and we're all like losing our minds.
Lost our minds.
And then for like the next week while we're on stage playing at these little clubs, we're like, oh, and by the way, if you want to catch us, we're going to be at.
And so we play the show with Setzer, and he steals our fucking bass player.
Yeah.
Didn't he? So then he takes Ronnie and puts him in his band.
Yeah, so after Tabasco Cat is over.
No, we were done by that time.
Yeah, we were dismantled.
Yeah, we dismantled.
And not badly.
No,
it kind of ran its course.
Yeah, it ran its course.
But I get a phone call, and it's Brian Setzer's manager, and he's like, hey, is this Rankin? I'm like, yeah, who's this? And he tells me, and we talk for a minute, and he goes, do you have Ronnie Crutcher's number? And I'm like, yes, but I'm only going to give it to you if you tell me why you need it. He goes, well, Brian's looking for a bass player. And I said, well, let me tell you what, he ain't going to find a better one. I was like, this is Ronnie's ideal gig.
See, Ronnie, look.
And I'm just telling you.
Didn't know
that's
that,
what
did
I
you?
told him. I said, this, you will not be disappointed. I said, he won't even have to learn anything. He already knows it.
You mean he didn't call up and say, he's just going to acquiesce to Warren. He just wants Warren to be the guitar player.
Right.
He's going to sit and do the sound and lights.
He's just going to sing.
So that's not okay.
Yeah, no, that's not what happened.
I would be the only person that couldn't get hired in that situation, right?
Yeah,
I'd have been left in the cold by you two.
It happens.
There you go.
But what are friends for? And hey, enjoy your whiskey. Get over there. No.
That's right.
And so anyway, Ronnie, this is the best part. Ronnie calls me. Man, you're never going to guess what happened.
Yes,
I was like, Brian Setzer's management called you and wants you to come out to California so you can try out for bass for Brian Setzer. How'd you know? I'm like, who the hell you think gave me phone number? I think Setzer's got your number on speed dial, bro.
That's right.
But he went out there. He went out to California, got the gig, and he's on the Live at Japan album.
Ronnie had assumed that he got his number from the 12th and Porter bathroom. It was like, for a good time, call Ronnie Crutcher. Probably. But yes, he did. And the rest is history. And now Ronnie's with a band called Hillbilly Casino in town. And
and so they're out rocking, doing their thing.
Yeah. So, that was our brief history. Well, not so brief history together.
No. And the whole thing is the reason I know why you were successful at what you did was because of the dynamic of Tabasco Cat, the way we worked. Because we used to sit and make all of our flyers by hand. I mean, like, we'd go to my work and get on the work computer and like print out fonts and pictures and glue all this stuff together.
We literally had no life. We used to sit and glue.
No.
Yeah, no, we did. They were the ways that you, again, Two Old Farts and Scotch is the name of the show.
Yeah.
That's how you did it back in those days.
No.
But that's how you did it.
And that's why we got successful at a lot of things. So Ronnie and Warren were the main songwriters, and I was not. But my contribution to the band was you got to get to the gigs. So we bought a Winnebago, a 1973 Winnebago Brave.
That's right.
I called it the not so brave, but
not so brave.
But we gutted
not so
it.
Good.
Yeah, we gutted it, and we turned it into our band vehicle, and we slept in it. So we saved hotel money because if the venues gave us hotel money, we just kept it.
Sleep in the Winnebago.
Yeah, and we slept in the Winnebago, and we have some good Winnebago stories.
We do. Plenty of good. Oh my God.
We should share those though because we can edit them out if
we can edit those out. We might want to save those for another show. Because I think we should. I think we should actually have a Tabasco Cat. If you're still tuned in, this might be really boring. The Tabasco Cat Touring Adventures. I'll just tee it up for you for next time. In Birmingham, I'll just say 2 words: Birmingham, Alabama.
Yeah.
A third word: vampire.
Yeah. Oh. Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
Look at the reaction.
Yeah. Oh,
look at the reaction.
Yeah. And well, the other would be Savannah, Georgia.
Velvet Elvis.
Ronnie.
Oh, yes. This is going to be a whole show,
right?
We should do another show.
All right, so that'll be on another show. We're not going to. You're going to come back a bunch.
I'll come back. Yeah,
right?
sure.
Like
you've got the scotch. I'm coming back.
Exactly. When I run out, they'll be like, "Why didn't Warren on this show anymore?"
I will definitely come back. That's brilliant. Yeah. What are you listening to nowadays? Speaking of music.
Wow, that's actually a freaking good question. I kind of, it's weird, man. I don't know when I moved back to Nashville, I went through this, I don't know. I think it's after you get divorced and get separated and kind of starting your life back over. I got into a bunch of stuff that I don't know why I got into it. I just kind of fell in love with Dawes. You know the band Dawes?
No.
So them, Band of Horses.
Dawes, like as in Riders of the Storm? Are you
D-A-W
pronouncing Jim Morrison's band in a weird way?
Dawes.
Oh, Doors.
Yeah.
To an Englishman, that's Doors and Doors. Kind of sounds the same.
The Doors, man. Yeah,
the
right.
Doors.
The
yeah,
Doors,
mate, the Doors. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
the Doors.
Right.
All right, so Doors never heard of them.
How much
Who's
more
the
black
band?
could it be?
Are they good?
None. Yeah, they're cool, man. It's kind of more mellow acoustic stuff, and so are Band of Horses and stuff like that. So I kind of got into that stuff. But it's weird. It's like now, I don't want to say I'm old farting it, but I'm going back through a lot of my old stuff. And of course, after Neil Peart died, I've been listening to like a ton of Rush just because it kind of brings all that stuff back. But the hard part for me right now is, and again, I don't want to sound like an old fart, I get on and so much of it sounds exactly the same.
Well, but...
And that's hard, and so I'm trying to find...
It's millennial reinvention, right? So, so they don't know...
And it happens all the time.
Yeah,
it's not that it...
I always say this to people that I talk to that are younger. We were very lucky in our lives. We were born in an age where we didn't have to fight wars like our fathers and grandfathers had to.
Yeah.
We were obviously too young for Vietnam. We were too young for Desert Storm, and I was too young for the Falkland Island conflict, right, in England. But we were alive during what I call the age of discovery in music. That is to say, everything that came very quickly, and it was all new.
Right.
So it wasn't that definitely sounds like this band. It was completely new. It was the age of discovery. So I always tell the story how I was in England having a bath, and I just have Radio 1 on, which is an English radio station. And like the Cult She Sells Sanctuary came on. And I jumped out of the bath, slipping and almost killing myself. Dried off, went to Virgin Megastore and bought the 12-inch single because I'd never heard anything like it.
Right.
And that was happening from the punk in 77 through the Clash, then to the Jam and New Wave and Blondie, and it hit so fast and so quick. And then at some point, even back then, you started hearing noise of, well, at some point it's just going to stop. Right. At some point, there's only so much you can do that's different. Right. Adam and the Ants is out one week. Duran are out the next week. This new band's out the next week.
I wonder how many people know who Adam and the Ants are. I freaking love...
But such an original sound. I mean, they literally took African drum rhythms, mixed it with some sort of piratey, cowboy-y lyrics, American Indians thrown in there for good measure.
And like flamboyantly kind of gay. Just
very much so.
Just...
Although Adam was very straight, dated generally.
But you know what I mean, like that more, just like he wore like a general's outfit and just makeup and the whole.
You got something against wearing a general's outfit?
No,
I wear a general's outfit.
He's phenomenal. Okay. No, trust me, that I loved a ton of that stuff.
Brilliant
I thought it was great.
The point is, everything was brand new, and now if you hear bands, no disrespect to a lot of these bands, but you can absolutely hear the influence. Like I hear a band and it's like, oh, that's New Order. Oh, that's Joy Division.
Right.
Oh, that's... And I don't know that these bands are necessarily setting out... Like, I remember years ago a band, Interpol, came out, right? They were young guys. And they sounded just like, to me, like Joy Division, quite frankly. But they kind of reinvented it a little. And they said, hey, we love Joy Division. They were influenced by that band. I don't think these bands now even know what they're being influenced by, but they think they're being original.
That's probably true. You absorb stuff.
You absorb it.
You can't help but listen
Their
to
fathers
stuff.
and mothers have played them stuff.
Absolutely.
And they have their own reinvention. It's just not a very good reinvention, in my opinion.
Right. I think the thing that I kind of want for a lot in music now is I want to hear stuff like, we were talking earlier about Kiss and Iron Maiden.
Iron Maiden are one of my favorite bands.
Both of which I've just recently seen in concert. And the thing I will say is, like, Iron Maiden has never used a click track on any album ever recorded.
Ever. Yeah.
Ever.
They just don't do it, yeah.
And they don't tune, and they don't do, like...
They're an astonishing band.
There's something for me about recording something in its real estate, because that's what you're making, a record of what the event you're doing.
Yeah.
I think the problem is now it can be so manipulated and so changed that you don't have to play an entire song perfectly, or what seems perfect, or has that emotion or that thing in it.
Well,
right?
I think
it's like you're sucking the life out of it.
Radio has dictated that, though. I mean, in fairness to them, and I said this on my other podcast, there's no record company that's going to put five, like the band Queen, in their early 20s in the studio and say, unlimited budget, unlimited time, go create Bohemian Rhapsody.
Exactly.
That'll never happen again.
No.
So there will never be another Bohemian Rhapsody.
Which I think is interesting, because I saw a quote from Vince Gill that he basically was talking about. He said, I make this thing and I hone it like a baby and whatever, and I get paid nothing for it, but you pay 99 cents for a fart app. Right?
It's true.
Right? So
I don't.
You bring in all these great Nashville players, and he writes these songs and sings amazingly, and it's like, you can get my single for 99 cents that took all these people involved, or...
Yeah. But there's no point in anybody sitting out there and sitting there and getting, drinking some beer and getting upset that there will never be another Dark Side of the Moon, because we don't put these lads into a studio to create in that way anymore. Well, there's never going to be another Wall. There's never going to be another Bohemian Rhapsody. It's just not going to happen.
Well, you don't get that. You don't artist develop anymore.
No, you don't artist. There's no need to artist development. So that's gone. And I'm convinced. To me, Freddie Mercury was the best frontman that has ever lived. Right? Probably ever will live. But you know what? There's probably somebody better now, or as good as, or budding. But we will never know that. Because that's not the way we make music anymore.
Well, and they're kind of in the shadow of that too. I mean, if that's going to happen, it's hard to look at one and then look at the other. Yeah. And plus, I mean, think now you have American Idol, you've got all
the
these,
X Factor,
The Voice, all these different things where it's like,
it's all shit.
Well, exactly, because it just is, because in the fact that you're not. You don't go play clubs. You don't do this. You don't do this. You just all of a sudden you're like, I'm amazing. Look at me. And Dave Grohl did a whole thing about this.
Yeah, he's another. I mean, one of my favorite people in the world, Dave Grohl. Always wanted to have him on my show.
Because those are probably the most modern real rock and roll bands.
I would say yes, but no. I'll tell you a story. This is an interesting story. And this might be the final story, because I've had probably like 6 of these now. So probably
he's going to just fall off backwards.
Just fall backwards.
I saw a fly land on him a minute ago. It just died.
It just inhaled on fire. So I'm like you. I don't listen to an awful lot of modern music. My playlist tends to be Beatles. I'm a big metal fan, right? So I'm big Motorhead, huge. Iron Maiden, huge. Right. And you've probably seen these Funko Pop figurines. Mm-hmm. That are out, the little vinyl figurines. Yeah, I was in Hot Topic. As you do, a man of my age, you walk in a Hot Topic,
because that's what you do. You go hang out.
People think you're some kind of pedophile when you walk in Hot Topic.
Like,
I'm here to buy a present for my daughter.
Old dude on aisle 3.
And I see this Funko Pop, and it's of this odd-looking guy, and it just he's alongside like Sting, Freddie Mercury, Lemmy, and it's this weird-looking guy from a band called Ghost, as I'm representing today.
Yeah.
So I immediately go home and that night I'm like, God, fucking Ghost. It's odd when a band's been around for 10 years that are so fucking amazing with a library of material, and you're like, how have I not heard of this band, heard of this music, to the point now where I'm almost obsessive over this band. This, to me, and I had a debate with, not a debate, we actually agreed, our mutual friend, Candles, Jason Hollis.
Yeah.
They, to me, are the only arena... They've gone literally from a... playing in clubs this size...
Right.
6 years ago...
Right.
...to being an arena band now.
Okay.
Arena. And they are the only arena band now, other than the Foo Fighters, in my opinion, that even matters, right? Maiden, the Foo Fighters, Ghost.
Right.
The other bands, the other arena bands, honestly, are just, to me, they're collecting a paycheck. Ghost are a true new arena band. They have a massive following. They have a wealth of brilliant material. They can back it up.
Right.
They're incredible musicians. The songs are amazing. And their last tour, I actually saw them in Manchester, Tennessee on this last tour. I woke up one Saturday morning. Fuck me, they're playing in Manchester, Tennessee at a festival. I got in a car, drove down there. I was in the second row that night, saw them, walked off before Def Leppard started, not interested. Right. Picking up a paycheck, Def Leppard. Honestly, I saw them in the Hysteria tour. That was the heyday. No more. They're such an amazing, amazing band. They're taking a year off to record an album. They recorded one of their albums here in Nashville. They're going to come back with their next tour. They'll be one of the biggest bands in the world. Mark my words. No, undoubtedly, one of the biggest bands in the world. Well,
it's crazy, too. You talk about Def Leppard. And so, wait, what's the big tour right now? It's like Def Leppard. And...
I call it the Pick Up a Paycheck tour. It's Joan Jett, Poison. I mean, crap. Def Leppard, crap. And I mean crap compared to really how they used to be.
Is Motley Crue on that one or no?
No, thank God they are. They are.
Are they on that?
Oh, my God.
So we had a little discussion about this earlier. And so the thing I have a problem with, and one of my subscribers had asked me about older bands, and I did this on an earlier podcast that I said, saw Kiss, unbelievable. The show was great. They looked great. It was phenomenal. It was well worth my penny to go buy that, and they were expensive tickets. They were, I got every bit of my show. Mm-hmm. Went to see Iron Maiden. Holy crap. They were unbelievably good. Like at the age that they are, just
at any age, actually.
At any age, no. But at the age they are, ridiculous.
I will say one thing, don't mean to interrupt you, but of all the bands that you're about to talk about, I've seen, I was lucky enough to see most of these bands in their heyday as well. I've seen Iron Maiden in their heyday, Peace of Mind tour. Yeah. They're actually probably better now.
Well, the scary part is I saw them on Power Slave. Right. I was in the 8th grade. And
I think I saw that tour as well.
And I was just blown away. It was the first big concert I ever saw. Right?
And they're at least as good now.
Oh,
if not
absolutely.
Better, right?
And Bruce Dickinson's voice is just incredible. Stupidly still good.
Best front man in rock and roll right now.
But then we were talking about, it's like Motley Crue. It's
horrible.
It's sickening. Yeah. Like, he's so fat.
Yep.
It's like Vince.
We can fat shame on the show because it's not acceptable. I'm paying $75 to $100 for a ticket. I don't want that fat fucker on stage going,
Well, he's not singing the lyrics. He's just mouthing the lyrics. Yeah. He's running around.
You're a mess, mate. If you're listening to now, if you're watching this, you're a mess. You need to get on a fucking treadmill. It's true. I'm paying $100.
Well, yeah, because you're not getting what you're paying for.
Vince back in the day was unstoppable.
He was brilliant.
Unstoppable. And we talked about earlier on, whatever you say about Kiss, I'm not the biggest Kiss fan in the world, but Paul Stanley in his 70s is a stud.
I wish I looked that good now.
That's what I'm saying. What? He's hired a nutritionist. He works out. He makes an effort to get through the tour and give the fans his money's worth.
Right, and that's frustrating as somebody who's your front man.
Right.
Exactly. Like you go, dude, go get a personal trainer.
Yeah.
Spend 3 months,
but forget the weight. I mean, not even the way he mumbles the lyrics.
Yeah,
you
got it.
There was a YouTube video of him singing "Kickstart My Heart." Just as an example, there wasn't one word he was singing. I've seen that. It's fucking ludicrous.
Yeah, it's terrible. It's absolutely terrible.
So I don't want to see these bands.
Well, and then David Lee Roth.
Vegas. That was
in Vegas.
You should put up a clip of that, mate. That was absolutely.
It's terrible. Now, is he like at a casino? Like, does he have?
He had a residency. Yes. Yeah. Scorpions are about to do one in Vegas now. They're doing a residency. Roth had one. Or is having one right now, and it's just pitiful.
It's terrible.
Bad. It's
like
really
the band is great,
amazing.
The band is killing it, and he's just
amazing band.
A remnants of.
It's not. It's just
bong water and hops and cocaine.
It's not even knowing when it's time to quit. It's actually fucking ripping off your fans because
it's terrible.
we know this, right? Tabasco Cat. We sit and try and play Tabasco Cat song now as fast as we were.
It's ridiculously hard.
I think we're still okay enough as you are. You definitely are.
I'd have to play it though. I'd have to play it for 2 weeks.
But if we played it for 2 weeks and we still thought we sounded like shit, would we ever play?
No,
we're a club band.
I'd be embarrassed. I just
wouldn't do it. So,
and I mean, like Ronnie, because he's been playing continuously, but he's playing guitar. So if he had to pick up the bass and play all night long on an upright bass.
No, Ronnie, you wouldn't.
No, you wouldn't.
You and Ronnie are seasoned musicians. You've kept it up for these years. So I would pick it up.
You'd pick it up though. I mean,
that's tough. It's fast, man.
No,
I got old fingers now.
It was crazy fast. And so the record we recorded at the Castle Studios, the Tabasco Cat record, and Mike Janis was our co-producer, definite monster engineer,
brilliant engineer,
and we had the best time at that place. And you're right though. If somebody said, "Hey, Tabasco Cat, you need to come back out and do a thing," I would be like, "Not unless it's amazing."
We'd rent SIR rehearsal studios. Yeah. We'd rehearse for a week, and it would have to be really good. And I would probably have to have at least 2 months before that to even get these old fingers in shape. Yeah. Having said that,
if you're an arena band, we could totally do it, and I'm down for it. But the thing about it is, if you're an arena band, I mean,
that's what I'm saying.
It's like people's dreams are built on this stuff.
Crazy.
It's like that's why when you would go see Rush, you just didn't even think about it.
Didn't think about it.
You're just like,
and I would say that a lot of that is one of the reasons that I love this band, Ghost, actually, and they wear masks, and Dave Grohl actually drums for them. James Hetfield's a huge fan too. I think their frontman possibly he could shape up to being another one of the great world's frontmen. Certainly after this last tour, I would say that. But I typically respect bands that, not just because I'm a musician, you've got to be able to play, got to be a great songwriter, very melodic, but you've got to know, some of these old bands just need to know when it's time. I honestly think Def Leppard need to hang it up. No, they're still actually not bad.
Right.
But I saw them when they were fucking amazing.
Well, yeah, I mean, when they were on top of the world.
Amazing.
And kind of killing
and it's like, how do you look at that?
In that Mutt Lange boot camp days.
Yes, exactly. You can't look at that and go, gosh. Because you're giving the same fans the value for their money now as you were then, right?
You're probably charging them more.
For this $2,000 VIP ticket.
Yeah.
But it's all nostalgia, isn't it? So we can relive our high school days. Yeah. That's what it is. That's why they're selling tickets.
Exactly.
So stop selling tickets. Let's have more bands like us. Let's have the new bands, the new blood.
So now you said Dave Grohl plays drums for them?
He does. He sits and plays drums. He produced their EP. He produced an EP for them.
Right.
Because he loved the band so much. And then he just sits in and plays drums. And because they're a mash, you can't tell.
Really?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's
you can kind of... there's a couple of videos where you can... Because the drummer normally sits up.
Right.
There's one guy that's like...
so you can...
It might be Dave Grohl.
So he's not there all time.
No,
he just comes in
He randomly does dates on tours and stuff.
For fun, just to come in. Yeah. That's awesome.
And I think James Hetfield too.
I love...
Yeah. I mean, this video of him in the audience, and he's a big fan of theirs. He actually asked for them to be on the last Metallica tour, but there's also rumors that he stood in for one of the... They're called the Unknown Ghouls that do the...
Nice.
Hetfield too. So anyway, as a big metal fan, I would tell you, not interested in Leopard, not interested. But I'll say this: Iron Maiden, Steve Harris is coming to Nashville with his band British Lion. We should go see that.
Yeah, they're coming. It's this weekend, isn't it?
Go see that. Come say hi. Come say hi to us. We'll be there.
That's right. We'll be hanging out.
Be hanging out. Yeah. We're the ones with the grey beards talking about this shit at the bar. That's what we're going to do.
Steve with his foot on the monitor. Just.
But the fingers is amazing. And the guy can still play. I mean, he's actually as good as he was when he was like 25 years old.
Look, you know you're in a crazy good band when your lead singer flies your jet. Right? When you fly around the country and Bruce Dickinson's like, oh no, I got this. We're at 30,000 feet. Everybody enjoy. Yeah.
That's right.
I mean, he does. He was a commercial pilot. Right, like his book, What Does This Button Do?
Oh, brilliant. I've read it. Yes.
Oh my God.
Fantastic. Brilliant.
You're like, wait, this guy's had like 6 lives.
It's amazing.
It's like 6 lifetimes.
He was a he used to fence, I think.
Yeah,
Olympic level fencer.
Yeah,
it's crazy.
And a commercial pilot, and this and that.
So we'll talk about next time I'm on. We'll talk about Tabasco Cat. Some of our what's the word I'm looking for? Some of our more questionable adventures on the road.
We had plenty of those. Remember
that would make a good show. That's a show into itself, I think.
Yeah, and then do you remember when we broke down?
Save that for the next show. It's such a brilliant story.
But do you remember that one?
I do.
Okay, so
yes,
if you guys want to come back for this, we're going to do a whole Tabasco Cat.
We'll do a tour or special.
It'll be a life of like road dudes. And
life of road dudes.
Like not tour bus dudes, because I've done tour bus life, and let me tell you what. That's a cakewalk. That's the thing. It's part of the reason I kind of got out of music.
That's right.
I got tired of listening to people bitch all the time.
Hey, kiddies. Try touring in a Winnebago and having your shower and having the water for the shower have to be filled up at a gas station.
Exactly.
After hours, so no one can see you fill up
As
water.
opposed to riding down the road in $1 million Prevost bus, right? And catered food and all that kind of stuff. So after you do that, we were like in the musical Marines.
We were. It was musical boot camp.
It was.
Playing on Broadway, as Rankins, we touched on this earlier on, when you're playing 4-hour sets and you go and pee and the band keeps playing while you're peeing.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, and then I was working at a cabinet. I was working in a cabinet shop from like 6 a.m. until I would get off, and I'd go sleep in the Winnebago and then go downtown and play.
Yeah, man. I do the same thing.
That was crazy. Yeah,
crazy.
You were. I mean, we were
waiting tables. I used to do breakfast, lunch, play with Tabasco Cat for dinner till 4 a.m. Breakfast at 6.
And then
2 hours.
And then we finally, at one point, got enough where you were like, some breathing room.
Done. I'll quit that job. Yeah. Just do Tabasco Cat.
Let's play music. That sounds fun for a living.
We probably waffled on too long, haven't we?
It's fine. Yeah. So thanks, guys, for being here. We've really enjoyed it.
It was fun. Thank you for having me on.
Hope y'all didn't fall asleep. Warren, my brother from another mother.
The beautiful thing about YouTube is you can always fast forward, can't you? Just
exactly.
Like keep
you can play it at double time. You can skip to the parts you want.
Yeah.
And we'll be back doing this again. I'm going to try to edit this. It'll hopefully be out on Sunday. That's my goal, is it'll come out tomorrow.
Okay, cool.
I don't even know what time it is right now, but it's probably 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, 3 o'clock. Mm-hmm. So I'll edit this down, and it may not all be in there. It probably will. I'm probably just going to leave everything in. Who cares? And so we're going to maybe turn the cameras off, have another drink, reminisce a little bit more, and we'll see you next time. Thanks for joining.
Take care.
There you go.
Brilliant, mate. Loved it.